Good evening. This is AWANI Tonight. I'm Cynthia Ng. MACC confirms it is investigating alleged corruption involving the MRT and LRT projects. And Bersatu's waning influence, how will it fight for survival? That's coming up. The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission (MACC) confirms that it is investigating alleged irregularities linked to the LRT and MRT projects. The graft agency is looking into few individuals and public listed companies. In March, 3 current and 2 former directors of an engineering firm were arrested to assist in a corruption case investigation that is linked to the MRT2 project worth over 650 million ringgit. MACC Chief Commissioner Tan Sri Azam Baki said the agency had started the investigation since March, before a report emerged that French authorities are probing into allegations of fraud and bribery linked to the MRT project. Azam also said the agency is examining a request by French authorities for assistance in the investigation. Meanwhile, MACC has opened 25 investigation papers on mismanagement of COVID-19 relating to procurement, which are alleged to have elements of corruption and malpractice.
Saya cuma nyatakan ia berkaitan dengan perusahaan COVID dan sedang kita siasat. Jadi apa-apa laporan kemudian kita akan maklumkan. Ya.
Dia dipanggil Tan Sri.
Jadi kita memanggil dalam 25 kesiasatan ni banyaklah. Sebab setiap satu kes tu berbeza, bukan sama.
Azam, who did not pinpoint any specific party on the matter, also did not rule out roping in former Health Minister Dato Sri Adam Baba to assist in the investigation as well. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection (CBP) has revealed that positive progress is being made with Malaysian companies that are affected by sanctions it has imposed. 8 withhold release orders were issued against several companies in the country in the last few years, of which 6 are still active. This is due to various breaches of the International Labour Organization's 11 indicators of forced labour.
We can't report on specific cases due to privacy laws and requirements, but I can say that progress is being made, and there's a lot of encouraging signs within the industries here in Malaysia that have been affected. We understand very, very well the economic impact it has, but again, it's simply a border enforcement issue that if we believe through credible sources that goods may have been made with forced labor, they can't be released into the commerce of the U.S. Until that situation is remediated.
The CBP also clarified its process of clearing certain companies by modifying or revoking the withhold release orders against them. This is done through collaboration with independent third-party auditors, as the CBP team is based in the U.S.
The clearance piece with regards to how we would clear through in order to modify the withhold release order is we will rely upon third-party auditors that are retained by the companies, right? So companies, when they do contact, again, it's a very open dialogue between us and the companies, and they enter into a commitment with which how they'll work through to remediate the indicators of forced labor that have been found. Again, as they go through the remediation process, we ask that they retain third-party independent auditors, and they will validate that the commitments that they have made have been completed. And so once we validate with those auditors that the commitments have been completed, then we could move forward to modify the WRO.
The Cabinet has no objection to the proposed draft of the anti-hopping bill, according to Datuk Sri Dr. Wan Junaidi Jaafar. Now, this comes after a meeting yesterday where Attorney General Tan Sri Idris Harun presented the bill. However, the minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Parliament and Law said the Cabinet raised 2 issues to be refined by the Special Select Committee. The committee is set to deliberate on these issues on June 7th, before the bill is finalised. Further details cannot be disclosed to the public as the matter is still under discussion in accordance with the Dewan Rakyat Standing Order 85. As of now, Ampang MP Datuk Zuraida Kamarudin remains in cabinet as Plantation Industries and Commodities Minister after defecting from Bersatu. Now, Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said that her position will be decided after they meet soon. Now, what does this mean for Bersatu's influence in the government? Ibrahim Sufian from Merdeka Centre weighs in.
There has not been an official word whether or not YB Zuraida is going to be retained or dropped from the cabinet. So it's still an ongoing situation. If she is retained, then certainly it does paint the position or influence of Bersatu to be weaker than what it was before. But it also carries a certain amount of risk for the PM in the sense that it will certainly sharpen the relationship between himself and the leaders of Bersatu. It will also mean that the ability for him to count on Bersatu to support him for certain decisions, for certain bills to be put through Parliament in next month parliamentary session will also be called to question. And certainly it may, I think, indicate a worsening of ties as the country heads into a general election.
He added that what is currently happening on the political front will likely intensify, and this would not paint a good picture for the electorate given the current economic condition.
The impact on the electorate is whether or not all of these episodes will intensify politicking, because we are in a situation where we've come out from the pandemic. We are now in midst of some economic challenges, high inflation and prices of consumer goods and staples. So there is some concern there that if the government government leaders have disagreements among themselves, and this spills into the open public space, it's going to further dampen public confidence in government's handling of the economy and also policies moving forward. So I think it will rub off negatively on the public space.
Bersatu's weak position was proven twice in the Malacca and Johor state elections. According to Merdeka Centre's Ibrahim Sufian, one way for Bersatu or Perikatan Nasional to stand a chance against Barisan Nasional in G15 is through collaboration with other parties.
It's quite clear that the Malay votes are split three ways, and also the non-Malay votes are a bit depressed in the sense that the turnout rates are very low compared to what we are used to. So all of this points to a situation where unless Bersatu is able to collaborate with other parties in the political arena, it is definitely going to face a challenging task ahead in the election. And the reason is this, because Bersatu sits somewhere in the middle of the political spectrum, along with parties like PKR. So parties on the left and right of the political spectrum, like the DAP and PAS and certain UMNO seats, they're relatively safe because they cater to their own constituents, so cater to the Malay voters or the urban Chinese voter. So for those seats, the support levels are fairly predictable, and therefore they know that there's a minimum that they can attain. But for parties that are contesting in the middle of the political spectrum, where it's a fairly moderate Malay majority or mixed ethnic seats, parties like Bersatu as well as PKR, that's where it's going to make or break them. So if they can find a way to bridge the gap, overcome the baggages that impede the relationship between these two parties, they can do very well. They can repeat the successes of their 2018 outing. But if they're not able to, then it's certainly going to give Barisan Nasional an advantage.
The Federation of Malaysian Manufacturers, FMM, said it welcomes the reintroduction of the Goods and Services Tax GST at a rate that would not burden the people but still help lower the government debt ratio. GST, it said, was a fairer and more transparent tax regime compared to the Sales and Service Tax SST. Based on a survey carried out among 499 companies in May 2020, FMM said participants strongly supported the current SST 2.0 to be replaced by GST. FMM President Tan Sri Sotian Lai said GST provides a fairer tax structure and eliminates cascading and compounding taxes commonly found in the SST regime. In addition, he said prices of Malaysian exports will become competitive on the global stage as no GST is imposed on exported goods and services, while the GST incurred on inputs can be recovered along the supply chain. The price ceilings for chicken and eggs in the country will be extended till the end of the month. The ceiling prices implemented on February 5th were supposed to end on Sunday. According to the Minister for Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs, Datuk Sri Alexander Nantalinggi, the Finance Ministry will study measures to help low-income groups when the ceiling prices are no longer in effect. This is to ensure Malaysians are prepared for the change in prices when the ceiling prices end. Currently, the prices for chicken in Peninsular Malaysia are RM8.90 per kg for standard whole chicken, RM9.90 per kg for super whole chicken, while prices for Grade A eggs are 43 cents each, Grade B eggs 41 cents each, and Grade C eggs 39 cents each. Meanwhile, for Langkawi, Sabah, Sarawak and Labuan, the maximum price for chicken and eggs differ according to zone and district.
Jualan Riang Raya Maxis. Bawa pulang peranti idaman baharu hanya RM50 sebulan dengan Maxis Home Fiber hari ini.
Celebrations are underway to mark the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, an unprecedented event in British history. Queen Elizabeth II, who came to the throne 70 years ago, is Britain's longest ever reigning monarch. Millions of people across Britain and the world are expected to join the festivities starting today in honor of the 96-year-old. 4 days of celebrations kicked off with the military parade in London that marks the Queen's official birthday. And for the first time, Queen Elizabeth takes the salute from the 1,500 soldiers from the balcony of Buckingham Palace. Other senior royals, including son and heir Prince Charles and his eldest son Prince William, will carry out other ceremonial duties on her behalf. Celebrations will continue over the weekend. On Saturday, a concert at Buckingham Palace will feature Diana Ross, British rock band Queen, Adam Lambert, Alicia Keys, Duran Duran, among others. And on Sunday, people across the country will take part in more than 16,000 street parties. Queen Elizabeth is the only British monarch the vast majority of the world has ever known. Starting with Winston Churchill, she has worked with 14 prime ministers and has served longer than any other British ruler, including her great-great-grandmother, Queen Victoria. While a 2-month COVID lockdown is all but over in Shanghai, residents' relief is quickly giving way to frustration as they now face hours waiting in line for virus tests. Even though authorities lifted the lockdown yesterday, residents are still required to screen for the virus to enter places like malls, offices and public transport. Citizens are required to have proof of a negative COVID-19 test result within the last 72 hours before entering these places. Authorities have built 15,000 testing sites and trained thousands of workers to swab throats. But long queues were seen across the city on Wednesday and Thursday, with some saying they queued for more than 2 hours. Other Chinese cities, including Beijing and Shenzhen, have imposed similar requirements under China's zero-COVID policy. The country's goal is to have testing sites within a 15-minute walk for everyone in large cities. While sometimes fated as part of the global Ummah, the lives of Rohingya refugees in Malaysia are very different from what the rhetoric of Muslim solidarity suggests. Tonight on Consider This, Sharat Kutin asks our guest the reasons for the discrepancy. I'm Cynthia Ng. Thank you for watching.